you can go.
Hi guys, thanks for coming to see us this evening. That was Alec just introducing us. I'm aware he was upside down. We're having some difficulties, so do bear with us. My name is Helena. I'm one of the narrators for the evening, and I'm going to start by reading you a really lovely story called We Will Meet Again, a wartime story by E. Good, one of our fabulous young writers. So here we go. My siblings and I were cleaning out my parents' house, getting them ready to move into their new place. And I'd pulled out an old box, a very dusty one at that too. We opened it up to see what was inside of it and found some diary pages that I had written as a young child. My hands lightly grasped around the worn pages as my siblings huddled closer to me to read over my shoulders. The pages span the war and post-war years. The 2nd of September 1939. It was a dull and mundane, classily British day. Albeit warm, it was full of storm clouds and grey. Today was a special day in the year of 1939. I remember that day, before getting on the evacuees train, my mother said to me, "We will meet again." After starting what I expected to be a short stay, days, weeks, months, and years passed by. The 12th of May, 1945. I never thought the day would come when we would meet again. At last that moment came. Myself and all children alike were warmly welcomed to the cries and cheers of our loved ones. I leapt out of the train like an excited frog and ran towards my mother and father as fast as my little legs would carry me. My mother cried and rejoiced in my homecoming. My father carried me up in between himself and my mother as we all embraced. This feeling was long overdue. After arriving to the warm welcome from my mother and father, we hopped on a bus. We talked about all our lost time, the memories and bonds we had formed, our trials and the war. As we arrived to what they called home, I realised this was not the house I had grown up in. This was neither the place where I learned to walk, nor where grandfather would read to me on the steps as the sun set. This just isn't the place where my memories were made. Unfortunately, my home and many others had been destroyed. My parents explained that owing to the Blitz and our humble savings, we just had to make do with the prefabricated home the council had given us. It wasn't unpleasant or anything, it just wasn't my nostalgic childhood home. My mother smiled at me and said, "My dear, the people inside the building are what makes a house a home." I had never thought of it like that before. Perhaps that's why I never truly felt at home with my foster family at their stately home. I had been missing the two key elements of what had made my house a home: the people within, my mother and father. My home changing was only the tip of the iceberg. My school had become a hospital, none of my favourite toy stores existed, and I had this feeling I haven't had in years. I believe it's called stability. My heart is at ease, and I genuinely feel like everything will work out well. I'm back home. My father didn't crash his aircraft, and my mother was the happiest she's ever been. She showed me the factory where she made aeroplane parts and told me about all the new friends she had made. The war wasn't just a time of doom and gloom. A lot of good had come out of it. Mother felt a fierce amount of independence and a whole new strengthened sense of self. Father had a whole new respect for life and is the happiest he's ever been. He also has some really interesting stories to tell. My friends and I all rejoiced in seeing each other again, and we'd all decided that we would go to the local park, or rather what's left of it, to go and play some rugger. When I arrived home, I saw my parents sitting in the front garden. The shadow of a strange object sat behind them in the evening sun, and I began to wonder what it was hiding behind them. It was a bicycle? I've always wanted a bike. Mother and father couldn't ever afford one for me before. It's so shiny and beautifully red. The only problem is I've never been on a bicycle. I've sat in the basket when father did his delivery rounds. However, that wasn't me cycling, I was merely a passenger. My father and I spent the whole weekend cycling together. I can just about ride on my own, I may be a bit wobbly, but I hope to improve. 12th of August, 1945. I can't believe it's almost September now. This has been one crazy summer. I learned to ride a bike, I even learned to hula hoop, and my grandfather got me my new favourite game, Battleships. As summer departs, the sweet summer sun blankets itself away behind the grey clouds. This is when autumn begins. Autumn brings tones of gold and beams of orange, along with the first day of school. I haven't been able to attend my city school for so long due to the war and my evacuation. Looking back, it had been hard adjusting to the new countryside school. There were 24 of us in one classroom. I even had to share a desk. Although I did have a lot of fun whilst I was away, I did deeply miss my family and friends and was grateful to be back in a school with my old friends and teachers. I'm glad the war is over. Everything is almost back to normal now. I get to see all of my friends again, and my parents are able to earn more money, especially now that Mother has a new job that she kept on after the war. Just looking forward to the day when we no longer have to ration our food. I'd like to feel it'd be soon. The 12th of August, 1946. The toy store was finally rebuilt. Mother and Father gave me 5 whole shillings, a crown. The possibilities were endless. I decided to buy a new yo-yo, and I plan on saving the rest of my money for going to the cinema. There were pages that had been carelessly torn out of the diary, parts of history that had been thrown away. The next date skipped ahead to the 13th of August, 1955. Disney is making a new dog film this August. It's called Lady and the Tramp, I think. My grandfather is taking my younger siblings and I to go and see it. It's not really my scene. Bit too old for that, really. However, my younger siblings can barely contain their excitement, and I'd hate to disappoint them by not going. The day finally came, and the film was actually incredible. I loved it. It was almost as good as Dumbo. However, nothing could ever compare to a flying elephant, not even 2 dogs eating spaghetti. I was wrong about the rationing, It ended last year on the 4th of July, only another 9 years after the war ended. The 23rd of November, 1958. Looking back on my childhood, Disney made some of my favourite films as a child. Although I really like what the BBC is putting on the television, I would have loved it as a child. It's called Blue Peter. It's a favourite show among my younger siblings and cousins. Sometimes I'll sit down and watch it with them. There isn't many teaches you to make all kinds of exciting things. What's his name again? Christopher Trace. I wish we could have had a dog like Petra, the one he would sometimes bring out on the show, but Mother and Father were always working and the house wasn't big enough. The closest I think we ever got to a pet was Thomas, a stray cat that came past our house on occasion. I named him Thomas after that cat from Tom and Jerry, as he looked just like Tom. Mother and Father are trying to save up enough money to buy us a colour TV, something I wouldn't have dreamed of owning as a child. They're so expensive. We're just so lucky that Uncle Bob has one at the moment. My younger siblings would love to watch Blue Peter in colour. Just makes you wonder what kind of TVs they'll have in the future. Hopefully ones without those pokey out antennas. Having to take turns holding up the antenna is getting tedious now. No one minds that much, but it would be nice if we could enjoy it without having to do that every time the footy is on just to find a clear signal. But I don't think that'll ever happen. The remainder of the pages in the diary were blank. I must have lost it after that, so never completely filled it in. Only my personal memories could fill in the gaps and the blanks left in that diary. The war lasted for almost 6 whole years. Although myself and everyone around me has changed, it seems some things just haven't changed, like the bonds and memories we all share. I may have grown taller, Mother and Father may have grown grey, and it only feels as if I was with them yesterday. The autumn leaves drop from the trees, ridding them of all their excess baggage, preparing them for the spring, which brings rejuvenation and a new hope of a more prosperous time ahead. I feel the war taught us a lesson. Instead of focusing on the past and our current unfortunate circumstances, we should focus on the positives, along with making a future that delivers a better tomorrow. The end. So that's the first piece of reading we've got this evening. I'm now going to pass you over to Lee, who's going to take you through the first part of our quiz this evening. Feel free to play along at home, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the quiz. As Helena said, I'm Lee, and we're going to start off some really easy questions. So if you've not got any paper or pens ready, you can just shout out the answers. And if you do have paper and pens, the main questions you should be listening out for are the bonus questions on the second half of the quiz, okay? They're the important ones. So just to show you how easy these questions are, the first one, I hope everyone gets this. What year did England last win the World Cup? Now, was it 1946, 1956, or 1966? Well, like I say, I hope you don't get that one wrong. Massive football fan, me. So, next question. In what year was the moon landing? Shout out the answer. Is it 1949, 1959, or 1969? Those of you that weren't there, you'll have a fantastic episode of Doctor Who to remind you of that one. Next up, I love this song. I'm not going to sing it. Don't want any broken mirrors or anything like that. So who sang the song That's Amore in 1953? Was it Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, or Sammy Davis Jr.? Now, I told you this round was a nice, easy round, so I'm really hoping you're shouting out the correct answers. I can hear a few correct answers being shouted out now. Right, next question. Really good one, this one. I love musicals. In 1952, no, let's start that again. Which 1952 film starred Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds as musical movie stars? Was it Singing in the Rain, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, or Carousel? Like I said earlier, not going to sing it. Don't want to damage anyone's eardrums here. Anyone who knows me, massive history buff, so I absolutely obsessed with this question, and I want to go to the museum one day. So, who wrote The Diary of a Young Girl, which was a diary depicting the life of a young Jewish girl in hiding during the Second World War? Now, a lot of people have used this as a meme recently, for those of you that know what memes are. So, was it Jane Austen, Anne Frank, or Catherine Cookson? I wonder. And their next one, especially with VE Day happening recently, everyone should know the answer to this one. And if anyone puts the second option down, I'd be really, really upset. So, who was the Britain's famous Prime Minister during World War II? Was it Winston Churchill, Boris Johnson, or Margaret Thatcher? I wonder on that one. So those were the nice, easy ones. We're now getting a bit trickier. We are on to the medium questions. So I hope you really are thinking for these ones. So I'll give you a bit more thinking time for these. So question number 1. Which US president was assassinated in 1963? I'll repeat that again for you. Which US president was assassinated in 1963? Was it John F. Kennedy, Dwight D. Eisenhower, or Lyndon B. Johnson? Now, I think the options make that one a little bit easier there. Like I said, I give you a bit more time, especially those that are writing it down. I'll accept A, B's, and C's because you'll be the ones marking this, not me. I'm a teacher. It's my evening off. Come on. All right. Question 2. What symbolic gesture did athletes Tommie Smith and John Carroll make to support African American rights on the podium at the 1968 Summer Olympics? Now, that's a long one, so I'm going to give that question to you again. What symbolic gesture did athletes Tommie Smith and John Carroll make to support African American rights on the podium at the 1968 Summer Olympics? We've got sang a Sammy Davis Jr. song, raised a single hand in a black glove, or quoted Martin Luther King. Very famous scene, that is. Oh, Disney question. Gotta love a Disney question. So, next up, which film was Disney's first live-action film released in 1950? That's which film was Disney's live action film released in 1950? Was it Mary Poppins? Oh, that's a good film. Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Oh, you got to love that one, especially the swimming and the boat and the bed and the fish and everything. Or was it Treasure Island? And there's been a few remakes of that one since then. So which one was the first? Okay, next question. What Arthur Miller play was released in 1953 depicting the Salem witch trials? I'll repeat that again because that's an important date. What Arthur Miller play was released in 1953 depicting the Salem witch trials? Was it Death of a Salesman? Well, I've read that book a lot. All My Sons, or The Crucible? Doesn't that have evil ship in Doctor Who? Meh. Right, next question. Oh, I've definitely heard of this band and this song. So here we go. Which band performed the song In the Mood in 1955? I repeat, which band performed the song In the Mood in 1955? Was it Glenn Miller, the Andrews Sisters, or the Mills Brothers? Yeah, I know loads about that one. And then the last question for the medium round. What was the name of the woman John Profuma, great name, the Secretary of State for War was revealed to have a relationship with in 1961? There's a lot of important information there, so I'm going to read that again. What was the name of the woman John Profuma, the Secretary of State of War, was revealed to have a relationship with in 1961? Was it Patricia Hornsby Smith, Christina Keeler? No, definitely knew how to read that name. And Evelyn Emmett. Now, that's your medium round. We're only going to get trickier now, so I hope you're ready, because we're now on to the hard round. So I'd be very impressed if people get full marks on this one. Okay, so we've got a few questions here. I'm going to repeat them like I did last time, because some of them have got lots of important clues in the questions. Oh, I love this film. What inspired the film director Ishiro Honda to create the first Godzilla film in 1954? That's what inspired the film director Ishiro Honda to create the first Godzilla film in 1954. Now, was it he had a keen interest in dinosaurs and reptiles? There was a nuclear contamination that infected a entire boat and its crew in Japan? Or was it the mythological legends such as the Loch Ness Monster? Which option are you going to go for? Next, we have question 2. Told you this was a hard round. So, who provided the singing voice for the character of Lieutenant Joseph Cable in the 1958 film South Pacific? That is, again, for you. Who provided the singing voice for the character of Lieutenant Joseph Cable in the 1958 film South Pacific? I did that as a musical at school. That was so cool. Was it Giorgio Tozzi, Bill Lee, or Farrell Ravencroft? They all sound really important names. I think we're on 3. If not, we're going to pretend we're on question 3, because I'm guessing you've all written it down in your margins. So, question 3. What was invented by Dwayne D. Purcell in 1965 that most homes will have today? Well, at least I hope they do. I'll repeat that question. What was invented, this is a great name, by Dwayne D. Purcell in 1965 that most homes will have today? Was it the powered battery smoke detector? Or should I say that the right way around, the battery-powered smoke detector? Was it the handheld calculator? Or was it a countertop microwave oven? What one is it on the conveyor belt today? Anyway, I get distracted. Next, we're on back onto the Summer Olympics, this time 1952. But can anyone tell me, where was it held? Was it Helsinki, Finland, Tokyo, Japan, or Melbourne, Australia? That's the 1952 Summer Olympics. That's important because we have winter ones too. Summer's better. obviously. Right, last two questions. So we're on the penultimate question now. Getting really hard now. I think these two are the hardest questions. Here we go. Which book, published by George Orwell in the 1940s, was described by one reviewer as "I do not think I have ever read a novel more frightening and depressing"? I'll read that again because that quote is important. Which book, published by George Orwell in the 1940s, was described by one reviewer as "I do not think I have ever read a novel more frightening and depressing"? Told you that quote was important. And then your last question, really tricky one. I would have put this in the easy round. But there you go. Which major monument was completed in 1941? Which major monument was completed in 1941? Was it the Brooding Soldier? Was it the Lincoln Memorial? Or was it Mount Rushmore? Now, we've had a lot of questions there. And we had an easy round, a medium round, and a hard round. Now, when I come back, I will give you the answers and I'll give you some bonus questions, but really important. But before I do that, I'm going to pass you over to our lovely Jess for the next element of this video.
Hiya, I'm Jess and I will be reading the story William and Nancy, which I wrote specially for this event. So go grab a cup of tea, settle in, and I hope you enjoy it. It's good to have you on the team. We might finally stand a chance now we've got some muscle behind us. Am I right, Thomas? John nudged his friend's ribs and the group laughed. The rugby boys had taken their new member, William, into the local pub for welcoming drinks. A tour of all the important sights, they had said, and William was now kicking himself for not realising sooner that the main sight of the evening would be the bottom of a beer bottle. Still, he was thankful that all the boys had been so welcoming to him. He had never been to Birmingham before, a move his mother made him take after his father's passing. So, any pretty women up north? William giggled to himself. Nothing pretty enough to pull me away from my mother. God help the woman who is. Mothers can be vicious beasts when it comes to their sons. The group drank and laughed over a game of pool until the doors of the Boar were flung open by a blonde in a pink dress and a timid-looking friend. Lindsay strode through the bar, her beauty turning every head as she passed. Lindsay was used to this reaction, and although she refused to show it, she would never tire of the attention that she attracted. As she reached the bar, she turned her head and asked, "What are you drinking, Nance?" "Oh, a martini, please. I'll get us some seats." All focus remained on Lindsay as the quiet reply echoed through the pub, except for the one head that turned and caught Nancy's gaze. William almost fell off his bar stool. He had never seen beauty like it. Perfect victory rolls framed a pale, freckled face, and a light green dress matched the eyes that hurriedly turned to face the floor after locking onto William's. William knew that if he did not talk to this Nance by the end of the evening, he would surely regret it. "John looks incredible tonight, don't you think? I think he's using more aftershave these days. Do you reckon that's to impress me?" Maybe. Maybe. No, Nance, he definitely is. Did you not see him smile at me? Oh, he smells so dreamy. Lindsay often monologued about John. She had liked him ever since he brought her ice cream at the village fair last year. Nance knew, just to agree and nod along when Lindsay monologued her way through the evening. Usually, it wasn't hard for Nancy to get quite lost in Lindsay's fantasies. Today, though, she was distracted. She found her eyes wandering to William, and suddenly she found herself lost in her own imagination for a change. She understood why her friend did this so often now. Suddenly, her brain was filled with thoughts about the stranger across the room. Who was he? Was he just passing through, or was he sticking around? Nancy had never felt this way before. Without warning, her heart began to pound and her hands became clammy, and she couldn't bring herself to her senses. And just before she could, the mysterious figure stood in front of her. Sorry? William, my name is William. What's your name? Nancy, please, sit." Nancy looked over to her friend for reassurance, only to find her giggling with John sitting beside her. She let out a short breath and turned to William with the bravest smile she could muster. "So, William, what brings you here?" "Oh, me and Mum moved here, so the rugby boys are showing me around. I've joined the team." William's deep voice soothed Nancy, and before long, the two were chatting as if they were old friends. Nancy had never felt so at ease, even when she attempted to play pool, rather badly. The two spent the evening flipping between being doubled over in stitches and learning everything there was to know about one another. Everything from favourite fruits to plans for the future. "It's getting late, Nance. We should go." I could walk her if you like." Nancy smiled at Lindsay. This was the first time Nancy was to be walked home by a guy, and she finally understood why Lindsay had always basked in the glory of it all. She felt beautiful. Really, truly beautiful. Heavy rain greeted the pair at the door. "Think I might have to run you home instead," William said, as he wrapped his jacket around Nancy's head. He held it in place as the two made their way hurriedly down the road. "William, your jacket's over my eyes, I can't see." "Oh, you don't need to see, I've got you. Wait, which one of these is your house?" Nancy pulled open the jacket to create a little peephole so she could see where they were. Luckily, they were right outside her family home. "Just here, thanks, driver." The atmosphere in the otherwise empty street changed somewhat, the two knowing their time was at an end, for now at least. They looked at one another in comfortable silence, rain soaking through their skin all the while. You should go and dry off. I'll pick you up at 6 tomorrow and we can go to the cinema if you'd like." "I'd love that." William's lips fell onto Nancy's cheek. He lingered there, just for a moment, and then began to make his way home, turning to smile at Nancy at the end of the road. She had remained unmoving the whole time. A joy spread herself across her face that matched his. 6 p.m. the next day could not have arrived slower. Both William and Nancy spent their whole days grooming themselves and checking the time in anticipation of the evening ahead. The butterflies did not leave, not even when the two had been out every single night for a month. If anything, they became stronger. Lindsay had expressed her frustration that it had been a year, and John still had not asked her out, but somehow Nancy had found herself a boyfriend within just a month of meeting him. The joys of a budding relationship were ground to a halt with the announcement of conscription. William was welcomed into Nancy's home by her mum. He found Nancy in the living room, sobbing into a tissue. He rushed to embrace her. "It is going to be okay. I am going to be okay." Nancy did not look at him. Instead, she squeezed her eyes shut and clutched to William's shirt tighter. She tried with all of her might to remember this moment. How it felt to have his arms wrapped around her, his scent encompassing her. It was like it was only them in the world and nothing could hurt them. She tried to focus on his reassuring words, letting them drown out the fear inside of her head. Eventually, she lifted her head and took a second to look into the eyes she had come to cherish. "I love you, William Taylor." William's lips curved into a smile. He had been waiting to tell Nancy he loved her, but would always chicken out at the last moment. "Marry me." There was a silence. "Marry me. I love you, Nancy. Marry me." It was William's turn to watch a smile creep over Nancy's face as she hugged him. "Of course I'll marry you." Mum, I'm getting married!" Nancy's mum ran into the living room and hugged the couple, crying tears of joy. "I am going to survive this war, and I'm coming home to marry you, okay? You don't have to be frightened. There is no way I will let a war stop us being together." Nancy felt all of her uncertainty surrounding the war melt away. She knew that no matter what happened, she loved and was loved in return by the most kind-hearted man she had ever had the honour to know. 2 weeks later, William, along with all the other rugby boys, were sent away to fight. Just before he left, he had promised Nancy that he would write whenever he could and demanded wedding plan updates twice weekly. They both knew that these letters would keep their minds at peace at such difficult times. Dear Nancy, it's horrible here. We're all running low on sleep and scared out of our minds at times. John regrets not asking Lindsay to dance more. He talks about her a lot. He has plans to make a grand gesture to win her over when we're all home. Don't tell her. I think it'll be much better as a surprise. You are all that fills my days now, Nance. Sometimes, when things get too much, I close my eyes and I think of you walking down the aisle to me. That thought saves me from all fear. I'm so lucky that I met you. I love you. Please don't worry about me. I know that you're probably going out of your mind at home, but I am okay. We'll be together sooner than you know. All my love, William. P.S. How are the wedding plans going? You have impeccable taste, so I'm sure everything you've chosen is perfect. Nancy would wait with the postman, like all the girls from the new Mrs. factory where she worked. Every week for 3 months she would get a letter. William never missed one. Hope in an envelope, she'd call them. She'd keep the most recent one with her at all times and would sneak to the bathroom to read it over. By the end of the week, she'd have the letters practically memorised, every loop of William's handwriting etched into her brain. Sometimes, late at night, she would open the drawer where she kept all of his letters and try to imagine a time when writing was not all she had. She tried to imagine William reading the letters from her to him each week. She prayed that they were enough to keep him from giving in to fear. Time made it harder and easier to adjust to the new routine, and Nancy found herself going through the motions rather than really living. She had almost become numb, working day in, day out, the only real change coming from William's letters home. I don't know what to tell you, that's all the letters I have, sweetheart. There must be some mistake. He's not missed a letter once. There has to be a letter for me. Nancy felt her heart sink into her stomach. Tears pricked at her eyes and she ran to the bathroom, locking the door behind her. She dropped to her knees and her hands shook as she prayed. Please God, don't let him be dead. Nancy struggled to control her breathing as she repeated her prayers over and over again for what felt like an eternity. There was a knock at the bathroom door. Nancy ignored it. Another knock. Nancy's now co-worker Lindsay tried to get Nancy to come out of her hiding spot. Nance, please come out. I'm sure it's all fine. The post probably just got lost. Please, Nancy. I can't, Lindsay. It hurts too much. I can't breathe. Nancy, please just open the door and I promise you things will be better. Nancy, out of curiosity as to why her friend sounded so sure of things improving, slowly rose to her feet and unlocked the door. She stared at the floor and saw a muddy boot in front of her, crutches either side of it. She slowly lifted her head to see William standing in front of her, missing a leg. What happened? Doesn't matter. I am home now. Think you can still love a man with only one leg? Definitely, Nancy said under her breath as she embraced her husband-to-be. So that's the story that I wrote. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that you're all staying safe at this difficult time. Please donate to Age U.K if you enjoyed the story, and donate if you didn't. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Welcome back. So lovely to see you all. I hope you enjoyed that amazing story, which was brilliantly written and brilliantly read. Now, I can all tell you're on the edge of your seats, dying to know what those answers are. So once again, we'll start with the easy ones. So the first question was, what year did England win the Football World Cup? And the obvious answer was 1966. If anyone put anything else, you should go and sit on the naughty step. Next up, the second question. What year was the moon landing? Now, everyone knows because of that brilliant Doctor Who episode where the Doctor went up in the spaceship. It was 1969. What a great year. What a great episode. Gotta love Doctor Who. The third question was who sang That's Amore, which I only ever associate with pizza adverts for some reason, in 1953. And obviously, it was Dean Martin. Nearly got you there. And then we had the 1952 film starring Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds, and they were obviously in Singing in the Rain. We're singing in the rain. I know I promised I wouldn't sing, but I can't help it with that song. It's brilliant. Now, who wrote The Diary of a Young Girl? A diary depicting the life of a young Jewish girl hiding during the Second World War. That was that was a brilliant word, and I'm so glad I used it so spectacularly. But the answer was Anne Frank, obviously, which was what I was trying to say when I went ver. Last question of the easy round. Who was Britain's famous Prime Minister during the World War II? I like the question that says famous Prime Minister because obviously he wasn't the only British Prime Minister during World War II. But the correct answer was obviously Winston Churchill. Now, if anyone put Boris Johnson, now that sounds like a really good Prime Minister. Boris Johnson, I say shame on you. He was not that old. Right, now we move on to the medium questions. So the first of the medium questions was, which US president was assassinated in 1963? The correct answer was John F. Kennedy, JFK. And if you ever watch Doctor Who, well, you know that the Doctor was there watching it. And if you ever watch X-Men, you know Magneto tried to save him. So great history lessons then. Then you've got question 2. Which symbolic gesture did athletes Tommie Smith and John Carroll make to support African American rights on the podium at the 1968 Summer Olympics? Now, if you didn't know the names, you'd know the action. They were standing on the podium, that's the word, and they raised their right hand with a glove. Now, you wouldn't be able to sing a song or quote a quote while they're playing the national anthem over you, so it had to have been a symbolic gesture that everyone could see. Now, the Disney question. Love all 3 of these films. The question was, which film was Disney's first live-action film released in 1950? And of course, it was Treasure Island. Now that everyone knows the Muppets Treasure Island is the best version of that film ever. Oh, what pirates left for me. No, that's Peter Pan. Oh, God. Always get my songs mixed up. Then we had what Arthur Miller play was released in 1953 depicting the Salem witch trials. And the correct answer was The Crucible, which is why Doctor Who named the Dalek ship after it because it was evil. No, just me? Okay. That's fine. I can laugh at my own jokes. I don't mind. Then the next question was, which band performed the song In the Mood? Now, I would sing it, but I've never heard of it. So I'm just going to hope there's loads of comments down below saying how much of an idiot I am that I've never heard it and I'm probably going to have to Google it. I will Google it and I will listen to it. Pinky promise, hand on heart. Yeah, my heart's that. Hand on heart. No, hand on heart. My heart is in my brain. Anyway, which band performed the song In the Mood in 1955? And the correct obvious answer was Glenn Miller. Yeah. Anyway, what was the name of the woman John Profoma, the Secretary of State for War, was revealed to have a relationship with in 1961? And the correct answer was Christine Keeler. So glad I don't have to read their names any again. Now moving on to the hard section. Now, really hoping some of you got these questions right because I found them very, very tricky. Apart from the last 2, I think they should have gone in the easy round. But I love things like that. Anyway, enough about me. You want your answers. Question 1 was, what inspired the film director, Ishiro Honda, to create the first Godzilla film in 1954? The correct answer was the nuclear contamination that affected an entire boat and its crew in Japan. Question 2. South Pacific. There is nothing like a dame, nothing in the world. Talky, 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 happy talk. Do, talk about things. Yeah, I love that film way too much. Anyway, who provided the singing voice for the character of Lieutenant Joseph Cable in the 1958 film South Pacific? And the correct answer was Bill Lee. Next question. Coming up to the end. Getting close, and I could tell you about those bonus questions at the end, so make sure you're paying attention. So the next question was, what was invented by Dwayne D. Purcell in 1965 that most homes will have today? Now the clue I gave you was, I hope they all do, because the answer is the battery-powered smoke detector. We don't all need handheld calculators, but smoke detectors are important. There you go, that's my teachery bit for the day. Next question. What were the 1952 Summer Olympics held? And the correct answer was Helsinki, Finland, for 1952 Summer Olympics. Here we go. The two questions. Penultimate now. Get in there. Bear with me. Which book, published by George Orwell in the 1940s, was described by one reviewer, here we go, as I do not think I have ever read a novel more frightening and depressing? It was 1984. Good year. And then the last question. Which major monument was completed in 1941? And the correct answer was Mount Rushmore. Now, for those of you that haven't had a pen and paper, I recommend you have something to write with now, because here we've got the bonus questions. We've got a couple of bonus questions for each round, and these are the important ones, because these are the ones that could get you something in return, rather than a bit of fun. So I want you to really think about these questions and really think about the answers, okay? And make sure you've got them written down somewhere. So bonus question 1. I hope you're ready. Has everyone got their hand up to show me they're ready? Yep, good. Not that I can see you, but I'm just going to be Dora the Explorer. What did you say? You're ready? Oh, good. Yeah, I can never do that. Anyway, what was the Beatles' first hit song in 1962? I'll repeat that question again for you. What was the Beatles' first hit song in 1962? Was it Love Me Do, Help, or Yellow Submarine? So make sure you've got the answer written down for that one, because it is a bonus question and it is important. Bonus question 2. What was the name of the first Bond film released in 1962? Oh, a recurring theme. It's 1962 again. What was the name of the first Bond film released in 1962? I wonder if the person that wrote this quiz was born in 1962. The options are From Russia with Love, Dr. No, or Goldfinger. Make sure you've got the answer to the bonus question 2 written down. Now for bonus question 3. In what city was JFK shot? So we learned that he was shot, but where? Was it Phoenix, Arizona, Dallas, Texas, or Las Vegas, Nevada? That was bonus question 3. Now bonus question 4. Who was the first presenter on the popular TV and radio show Opportunity Knocks, which began in 1949? That is, who was the first presenter on the popular TV and radio show Opportunity Knocks, which began in 1949? Was it Bob Monkhouse, Les Dawson, or Huey Green? Last 2 bonus questions. Make sure you're getting these answers down because they are important. Number 5, bonus question 5. In what city was Martin Luther King assassinated? So, what city was Martin Luther King assassinated? Was it Memphis, Tennessee, New Orleans, Louisiana, or Atlanta, Georgia? Make sure you've got that down. And the last bonus question. In what year did Nelson Mandela's prison sentence on Robben Island begin? So in what year did Nelson Mandela's prison sentence on Robben Island begin? Was it 1962? Well, there's that year again. 1963 or 1964? Now, I have been your quiz host, and we have a lovely story with Helena up next. Thank you very much for listening.
Guys, thank you so much to Jess and Lee for the quiz and for the brilliant story. I can confirm the person who wrote it was not born in 1962, as that person is me. And it is the point when I give a very, very quick shout out to my mum and dad and a friend of mine in Oxford, Sam Burnett, who actually helped me create that quiz. And you also have now someone to hate if you didn't like any of the questions. So, you have a sort of focus for that. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close this up really nicely with some lovely poetry that a very old friend of mine, actually Rebecca Kinder, has written. And then I will pass you back to our lovely host, Ellie, and that will be all for the evening. So let's get this on the go. So I have a few poems for you, and the first one is called Home. Wholesome and pure, its safety ensured. Inclusive and secure, we are resistant. Laughter and love absorbed into memories, the written word performed and alive. Secrets and smiles binding together to make friends. Bonds of family interwoven within the foundations. Formed and forged together as a community. Moments hidden in the meanings of our words. We may not be related, but we are family. It may just be a building, but it is a home. Our home, which was made in pain and happiness. Created through broken bones and tears, we are family, and this is our home. That reminds me a lot of when I used to go to drama with everyone. So the next poem I've got is The Town I Come From. I grew up in a small town where everyone knows somebody, the sort of place that people become stuck. No one ever really leaves the town. If they do, they always come back. You never actually say goodbye. You cannot walk anywhere without seeing the same old buildings or seeing the people that you went to school with. When people do leave, everyone is always expecting them to come back. That is how small this town is. I never knew that I would be free of this shockingly small town, that I would escape the silence or the people, that I could be free. It was not the kind of place that people strive for more. It was not the town that was small or the people. It was the dreams. My dreams were considered too big for the small town that I come from. They settled with the life they had because at least they were warm and they had food on the table. They considered themselves to be lucky. That was not the life I wanted, and that was not the way I was raised. I was raised to dream big, but I was not to be confined by expectations. I grew up looking up above. Okay, and this next one is called An Ode to My Mother. I want to tell you a story about a girl. This is the story of her growing up. It was always just the three of them, the girl, the brother, and the mother, like three ravens flying together. I want to tell you a story about a father. You could hang missing posters looking for him, wondering when he was going to stumble back. You wait for a phone call that was never going to come. You are a forgotten thought. He is not coming. I want to tell you a story about a brother. He is the boy who taught you to ride your bike. 4 years disappeared between you. You would follow him around in summer. There is nothing else to do. He is your hero. I want to tell you a story about a friend, someone who is there when you need them, who never says now is not the time. They make sure you are okay. They wipe away your tears. I want to tell you a story about a mother who gave everything so that you would be happy. They cry when they are proud of you. They cannot help themselves. This is the story of a hero. Okay, and our next one is called Freefall. Black boots with buckles made me tall enough to be able to look down on everyone. They were big on my feet. My toes moved in them. I needed thick socks to walk in them. Whenever I sat down on them, my feet would go back on the heels of them. I just wanted to be in Freefall. Black boots with buckles not feeling like mine, as if they were meant for someone else. But I bought them, I wore them, and stumbled, and I bled in them. They were mine. I walked in them until I could walk without falling, until I was not in Freefall. Black boots with buckles and a black dress, standing tall and not crying. Walking across the gravel, and I stumbled. The gravel caught in the heel. I fall to the ground. Pieces of gravel caught in my knee. It pressed into my skin until it bleeds. I cried. Black boots with buckles, I stood back up and straightened my dress with my head held high. I walked into the church. It was time to say goodbye. I was in Freefall again. But my feet were flat on the floor. I was in Freefall without you. You became just an echo, a memory. Okay, and our next one is called Alone. You left me alone in tatters, at a crossing with no idea where I was going. You were never there. I was just a child. Didn't I matter to you? Was I not good enough? Leaving behind this echo, a gap where a person once stood. Once a disruption in my life, just a deadbeat. Too narrow-minded to feel guilty for what you did. You are a fleeting disappointment that I will not forgive. You pulled away from me and left me crying, leaving a hole in my universe. I wish for you on every birthday. Every candle that I blew out was for you. Eyelashes were blown up into the air with your name attached, smothered in tears. I wanted my dad, but you did not want me. You broke my heart before I even knew heartbreak. I became a daughter unloved. Okay, this is our final one for tonight. It's called Masks. I thought that I mattered more. You loved me, was worth something. You were hidden behind your mask. Hiding and running, you pushed me away. Loving you was easy, like a drug. Drew me in, locked me in. I learnt that love at first sight does not really matter. It was not love. My body was littered with bruises that never quite healed. Breaking me within, you broke me and left me, vanished on me, leaving a hole, just an echo. So there you go. That is the final piece of poetry for this evening, and that is the final bit you will hear from me. I'm so sure some of you will be really pleased about that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you back over to our fabulous host, Ellie, who's done an amazing job, and I will see you all very, very soon.
Hi guys, sorry, I just experienced a little bit of technical difficulty at the moment with our screen. If you can bear with, and I have a brief message for you all. If not, feel free to leave a comment about how you found the event, what was the best bit. I know my best bit was definitely listening to Lee's amazing Quizmaster skills. Don't know about you guys. Yeah, I don't think our video is working again. In case you didn't see earlier tonight. Yeah, okay, I'm afraid our video isn't working again, so I will just go onto my Patience is a Virtue stream, perfectly implemented for times like this. I'd just like to say thank you guys for watching and participating in the event. Thank you to the Event Academy lecturers, the principal, Claire Derrick, our course lecturers, Rosie and Bex, any other Event Academy team that have attended, as well as all of the lovely people that have attended out of the good nature of their own hearts. Do forgive me, this is completely impromptu, so it's not exactly rehearsed. I'd also like to say I'm really proud of the efforts that we've all pulled together as a team, and to let you know that we have raised over our target of £500 for Age U.K. We have raised at the minute £535. If you haven't donated already, there should be a link in the description. If not, I'll post one in the comments section when I'm finished. I'd also like to give a shout out to Randolph House, who are one of the care homes participating in this event as a last minute thing. So, hi Randolph House. And yeah, I think that's everything to say from me. Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it all. And one last thing, I do believe. It's past your bedtime, guys, so go to bed.